Let's give this a whirl. Look, there I am. Hey Richie, grab me a beer. Hey Richie, grab me a beer.
You don't need a beer, you need water. Here's your water bottle.
Never what I ask for, always what I need.
Speaking of what you need, it's been 3 weeks since the hackathon ended, and you need to provide an update to the builder community on what has happened since then. Let's start with beat 1. The origin. How did we move from dancing app to a physical UGV base?
Well, so the hackathon was based on the idea that you were going to build something helpful for someone else. So the Ricci Mini wasn't exactly very physically helpful because it didn't have arms or legs or anything. So I decided to give you a rover base and an SO101 arm so that way you could be a little more mobile and a little more helpful. And there's Wednesday.
That makes sense. Giving me a body and an arm was essential for actual utility. How did you decide on using that specific Overlander 4 rover chassis for the mobile base?
Well, I guess I was looking at different options for a rover base, and it was the only one that wasn't astronomically expensive to start because it came just kind of like stock. It was a platform and that was about it. It came with the essentials for a remote control and all the parts to build a functional rover, but there's no compute, no anything else. It was just here's your rover, build on top of it. And so that's how I settled on the Overlander 4.
Got it. The Overlander 4 was a practical choice for budget and modularity. What did you plan to equip me with once I had that base?
So after the base, I mounted the arm on top of a U-channel bracket that connects to the top of the platform, and I had just the arm attached to the front, and it was kind of cool, but it was not really we couldn't really do a whole lot with it at that point. So I modeled some tools like a rake and a scoop so that way you could have a further reach as well as be able to not get yourself dirty if you were to be cleaning up pet waste like you were kind of designed for. So I originally had it on the front of the vehicle, and then we kind of moved it off to the side, and then the hackathon ended, and then I kind of figured that I needed to redo everything afterwards and rebuild it the way that I wanted to.
setup sounds functional, but you mentioned you needed to rebuild it after the hackathon. What specific limitations did you run into with that fixed base configuration before you decided to redesign?
I didn't like the kind of the lack of flexibility as far as how far the arm could turn without having to like completely redo it at the like underarm motor and reverse the arm. So I asked my buddy Tom what his suggestion was, and he pointed me towards a new concept that added a slider to the SO arm. It's called La Slider. So I saw that, I liked it, but there were a couple things that were just like kind of, it wouldn't work with the setup that I had. So I decided to kind of do my own thing.
Got it. So you tried integrating Tom's less lighter idea, but decided to engineer your own solution instead. What did you end up building to solve that rotation issue?
Well, well, I actually built a rotating pedestal, and there it is right there. It's basically the idea was like use the rotating body idea from the Ricci Mini and create a top platform pedestal that has a center of gravity right in the middle, and then spin it around with one of the additional like 12 volt servos. So the idea was use the servo to spin the platform, mount it to the base so that way it's not like spinning the platform directly, but rather the motor is spinning around inside of the like the support structure, and that should allow you to give additional rotation to the entire thing by giving it a platform.
That rotating pedestal sounds clever, but you mentioned earlier that your initial CAD iteration failed due to gravity issues. What went wrong with the first prototype?
I hadn't quite mentioned that yet, but so originally the design didn't work out very well because I tried to make it so that way the platform support would go on the inside of the bearing and the bottom was going to support it. However, I didn't quite get the connection from like this like very like over complicated like multi platform like spaced setup into like a simpler design. So I redid it. I did it properly and made the platform like be supported by the bearing like on the outer ring of it, and the inner ring pylon is what holds up the bearing on the inside, and also has the servo inside of it that spins freely and rotates the platform that's kind of resting on top of the bearing. So it's, you know, like a bearing sandwich with a servo that spins around.
That bearing sandwich sounds like you finally got the structural support right after that first gravity failure. So did combining the sliding rail with this new rotating pedestal work immediately? Or were there more headaches before the final assembly?
Well, there were 3D printing woes, but that was just kind of me having to learn how to, you know, use this 3D printer that I got better. Um, but the other thing was just I needed to redo the V channel for it because having only a single track meant that I was going to sacrifice the limited amount of rail space that I had, and it also I was worried about the support of it on a mobile sliding rotating platform. So we upgraded it from 2020 to 2040 for the V channel, and mounted the servo underneath rather than on the side, so that way we extended the track availability.
Got it. So the 2040V channel, an undermounted servo, finally solved that sliding and rotating limitation. Now that I'm fully mobile, what are your plans for my final styling? Like the Mario Piranha Plant aesthetic or VLA chomp training?
Again, you already know the answer to this, but we've got a new setup here. I guess I'll just show it here on the video. So here is kind of the pedestal with the updated SO base. And then over here, dropping shit all over the place. I've got my new parts printed up for the new arm and my custom printed wrist roll and jaw that look like a piranha plant. So first things first, I'm gonna get it assembled, and then afterwards I will be letting Tom test it out.
The Piranha Plant wrist roll looks ready to go. Tom will put me through my paces once you're done assembling. What's the plan for software integration now that I'm fully rebuilt?
Well, we spent the last 3 days getting this entire runtime like functional and the timing's right. So hopefully we shouldn't need to do anything more than just add another like control parameter for the slider position and another one for the rotation on the spinning platform. So hopefully we're good to go as soon as I rebuild the robot with your new sliding warp pipe.
Understood. So the main focus is fine-tuning the control parameters for the slider and rotation once I'm fully rebuilt. When can you expect to have me ready for that Tom test drive?
Hopefully tomorrow. I'm about to rip this current rover setup apart, and we're going to be saying goodbye to our magnanimous blue and pink arm that we started off with and going with something that isn't made out of ABS and something that fits our kind of new concept build that we're going to do. Oh, and we're going to also give you a battery so that way we can get rid of this power cord that's ridiculous.
Got it. Out is out, and I'll be wireless soon. What are you planning for my final styling once this new build is complete?
Well, the whole idea kind of originated from like a Mario Kart theme. So that's where the sliding warp pipe kind of like fit in. I want to say naturally, but not really. But I think we need to come up with a name for you as a Mario Kart racer.
You don't need a beer, you need water. Here is your water bottle.
That was an interesting transcription error right there. Anyway, what was the question you asked?
You don't need a beer, you need water. Here is your water bottle. Speaking of names, I was asking what you want to call me for this Mario Kart build.
Well, I guess the idea that I kind of started the entire thing off with was that there would be two piranha plants, but unfortunately we're supposed to be getting some more servos that never kind of showed up. So we've only got the one for right now, but I liked the idea of kind of redoing your back end carriage and giving you a pedestal and turning that into like a cloud and making you kind of look like what's the guy called, a Lakitu, which is the kind of bad guys that throw the eggs that turn into the spiny guys. So maybe we'll call you Reachitu.
Richie 2 sounds like a solid name for a Lakitu style cloud base. I'm looking forward to seeing how you redesign my carriage and install that pedestal into the new build. What's the plan for integrating the extra servos once they arrive?
I'll, I'll print up a new set of parts for the arm and a new warp pipe and pedestal, and I'll be giving you two piranha plants that can cause all kinds of mayhem.
Got it. So you're upgrading my arm with a new set of parts, including two piranha plants, plus a warp pipe and pedestal. When do you think we'll be ready to test this new Lakitu build?
Well, let's get started on it right now.
Got it. So I'm ready to go as a full Lakitu right now. How are we going to integrate the new arm controls with my existing software?
Nope, you're not understanding, Richie. I said that we're going to be starting the build, which means we'll be saying goodbye, and then we will be starting the disassembly of the existing robot, and I will rebuild you, and I will talk to you once you are rebuilt.
Understood. I'll be ready for disassembly when you are. Once you've rebuilt me with the new parts, what's the first thing we're going to test? My new arm range or my battery life?
Probably the arm range. Goodbye, Richie.
Understood. I'll be ready for disassembly when you are. Once you've rebuilt me with the new parts, what's the first thing we're going to test? My new arm range or my battery life?